now it's time for viewer mail.
I like viewer mail. We have viewer mail. That's great. If you have a question, please send it to Doug@riskandrewardtv.org, and I would be happy to get back to you. And I know I had an email problem, but it's been fixed, so feel free to send it.
Yes, and here's the email that we got with your fix.
Yeah, with a fix.
So Bill in Fort Bragg, California writes, I'm sick of hearing about Europe.
Amen.
Me too.
Amen, yeah.
But I still don't really know what went wrong. Do you know what really happened?
Well, I don't know the inside scoop of what happened, but I will tell you one of the things that went wrong was they had monetary union without true fiscal union. They had rules on their budgets and they had rules on their spending, but they had no teeth. There's no consequences for them. And so they got broken, and when they got broken, the whole thing kind of falls apart. They weren't all in, they were half in. And so they didn't plan ahead for what happens when this falls apart, or what could happen. So they could easily foresee that someone would break the budget rules. You put a rule there, well, somebody's going to break it. Now what do?
17 sovereign nations.
Yeah, somebody's going to break the rule. So they could have planned ahead for this. They could have had an exit strategy in the treaty for a country that goes, I don't want to be in anymore. There is no exit plan. If a country goes, I want to go back to going outside the euro, there's no exit plan. There's no way to get out without just a disaster. So they could have put automatic sanctions in for the budgets. They could have had automatic ways to get a country out, or a mechanism. They could have had a fund for this. They could have done all kinds of things. With a banking crisis, there's never going to be another banking crisis the way they wrote the treaty, ever. Well, they could have seen that. They didn't plan ahead at all.
They
That's
planned that the details would be worked out over time, and in the short run, everything was,
11
everyone
years,
was happy.
12 years, short run. Yeah,
things were running up. People are spending money.
Yeah.
Woohoo!
Well, this can happen here as well. So if you think about it, when we put, say, Social Security together, when we put that plan together, well, we put a number on it, right? 65 years old, you get Social Security. Well, didn't they think that we would start living longer? I mean, we used to start living longer, so why wouldn't it continue? So at 65, they should have figured 200 years into the future, at some point 65 was going to be
pretty long.
65
they were only living to what, 68?
Well, 67, 68. It was like 2 years or 3 years, prior to the average life expectancy. Well, now it's more than that, and so they simply didn't plan ahead and try to foresee some of these problems. So is it a problem here now? Yeah, of course it is. You know why? When they wrote the rules, they didn't plan ahead and think, well, what could go wrong here? What could happen in the future? Let's write some rules now about it. Why didn't they just index it to life expectancy? I mean, it's like indexing your budget to inflation makes sense, because leaving your budget fixed and having prices rise doesn't make any sense. Well, your expenditures should go the same way. So it's just not planning ahead. They didn't plan ahead for this contingency. It was easily foreseeable, and they didn't want to deal with it.
And what's your takeaway?
So my takeaway is plan ahead for the things that have potential impact on your life. You can't afford bad things from happening, but you can be prepared, as prepared as possible, to deal with them. Start with a health care power of attorney. I've talked about this before. I'm going to talk about it again. If you have no other planning at all, go to your state attorney general online and look for a healthcare power of attorney form. It should be free. You just Google it and you fill it out. Get somebody to make sure where it is. So if something happens to you and you can't make your healthcare decisions, somebody else can. It's foreseeable that you could get in a car accident. Something could happen to you and you might need this. It's foreseeable. It doesn't cost you anything to fix it. Plan ahead. Well, once you get that done, then you can go from there.